Hi folks, welcome to this channel. Today we are going to take a look at how to turn plastic waste into 5 essential items of emergency survival gear. And the best thing is that it's all free. So let's get started. Now, when most people think about the concept of waste, they immediately think of garbage. However, what if we were to shift our perspective a little bit? What if we were to begin thinking of waste as something that simply has not yet been properly categorized or assigned its highest and best use? This single mental exercise can transform the way we view the world around us and can even change the way others perceive us. In other words, when we begin looking at the world in this way, we start seeing trash not as just junk, but rather as a potential source of raw materials for crafting items that can save lives one day. The first step to making these life-saving survival gear items from plastic waste is to collect as many plastic bottles as you possibly can, as well as their lids. You should also try to get your hands on as much plastic packaging as possible. Once you have gathered your materials, the next step is to give them a good wash. As you can see, I am washing off any debris, dirt or residue from the surface of the plastics to ensure they are clean and ready for reuse. After the initial wash, I then put them in my sink here and run them under some more water to remove any remaining soap and grease. The reason why it is so important to have clean plastic materials is because we don't want to end up with a contaminated product at the end. Once you have finished washing your plastics, leave them out in the sun to dry completely. You will know they are dry when there is no longer any moisture on the surface or any condensation forming on the inside. At this point, we can move on to step 2. Step 2, we are now going to use a technique that has been known to man for thousands of years, to create a very simple yet effective water filter from plastic bottles. I am going to cut the bottles in half lengthwise and then use the upper section as a filter housing. We need to create a space at the bottom of this section to allow for a steady flow of water to pass through the materials that we are going to place inside. So I am going to take a metal poker tool and make a hole in the center of the filter housing. Next, I am going to invert this top section inside the bottom section and then fill the gap with either sand, charcoal, or cotton. Of course, you can use any combination of these 3 materials, but in this example, I will just be using only cotton. To make sure our filter functions properly, we need to place additional cotton on the very tip of the filter housing. This will serve as the final barrier before the water passes through the filter and makes its way into our container. Now all you have to do is fill up your container with the dirty water you wish to filter. Place the filter housing over the opening and then gently squeeze the sides to ensure an airtight seal. Next, press down on the cotton tip to make sure it is firmly compressed. Finally, begin squeezing the bottle. The water will immediately begin pouring out of the bottom clean and fresh. And that's it. You now have access to safe drinking water. Step number 3. We are going to combine 2 common household items to create a very effective plastic waste fire starter. Take a sharp blade or pruners and disinfect them. Then cut the tops off of some plastic bottles. Take some of the plastic scraps and place them on a heat source to melt them. Once they have melted, we are going to mix in some sawdust and then continue melting the mixture until it becomes viscous. Now we are going to take some silicone molds and fill them with the mixture. I happen to have these cupcake liners, which work very well for this purpose. It is really important that you allow this mixture to cool and harden completely before removing it from the mold. And there you have it, a simple yet extremely effective fire starter that can help you get a fire going in virtually any situation. Just remember that this item is meant to be used for starting fires only. Do not attempt to sustain a burn with it. Step 4. We are now going to fashion a very simple survival whistle from a plastic litter. Take a plastic bottle cap and place it between 2 blocks of wood. Securely clamp the bottle cap in place using a C-clamp or some other type of clamp. You may need to use some trial and error to determine exactly where you need to position your drill in order to achieve the best results. Begin drilling several small holes directly through the center of the bottle cap. Once you have finished drilling, grab your whistle and take it outside to test it out. If you find that it is not loud enough, then you may need to increase the number of holes that you drilled. To make a plastic whistle that is both functional and durable, we are going to take some plastic straws and cut them down to size. I found that a length of about 1 inch works very well. Take some super glue and apply it to the end of the straw. Then insert the straw through one of the holes on the whistle. Let the glue dry completely and then repeat the process until you have completed the whistle assembly. Now you have a whistle that is not only useful, but also compact enough to carry with you at all times. And finally, we have reached the last step in our project, Step 5. Here we are going to show you how to craft a floating device from plastic bottles. The concept behind this design is fairly straightforward. By bundling several plastic bottles together with some type of cordage, we essentially create a buoyant object that can be used for water rescue operations. To make this device, you will need several plastic bottles, as well as some heavy-duty cordage or packing tape. Start by laying the bottles side by side and then use either the cordage or the tape to bundle them together tightly. As you can see, I am using a combination of both methods in order to demonstrate how each one works. If you choose to use packing tape, you must be sure that you wrap the bottles tightly enough to prevent them from slipping past one another. On the other hand, if you opt for the corded method, you need to make sure that the knots are secure and will not come undone in an emergency situation. No matter which method you choose, the final result will be a lightweight yet very effective survival tool. Simply toss the device into the water and it will immediately begin floating towards you. But wait, there is one very important aspect of this design that we have yet to discuss. That is how to make the device easily identifiable from long distances. Well, luckily for us, there is an extremely easy way to accomplish this task. Grab some permanent markers and write the word SOS in large letters on the exterior of the device. Not only does this make the device more noticeable, but it also sends a clear distress signal to anyone who sees it. When choosing a location to store your flotation device, you want to select somewhere that is easily accessible but also protected from the elements. There you have it. You have now successfully transformed ordinary plastic waste into 5 unique items of survival gear. Not only have you saved yourself some money, but you have also helped to reduce waste and pollution in the environment. But that's not all. By learning these skills, you have also become more self-sufficient and better prepared for any situation life may throw your way. Who knows? Maybe one day you will find yourself in a situation where you need to use one of these items to save your own life or the life of someone else. And when that time comes, you will be glad that you took the time to learn these skills. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving us a thumbs up. We would really appreciate it. Also, if you have any feedback or suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comments below. We love hearing from our viewers and we take their feedback very seriously. Thank you again for watching and we hope to see you in the next video.